From Screen to Shelf.
What's going on, guys? This is Gabe from Screen to Shelf. I am here with Chase. It is good to be back. I have not been here for like 2 weeks, I think.
Welcome back.
It's been a minute. I've just been super busy, but I am excited to get into this one. Chase and I have been talking about doing this one for a minute. We've just kind of delayed it for a second. We're going to be talking about unnecessary movie sequels. And mind you, him and I were talking about this before rolling. It doesn't necessarily mean that we don't like the movie, right? So like these are just like these are films that we feel like really didn't need to be made, even though the sequel may be, decent and may be actually a really good movie, but maybe from a standpoint of the entire narrative, it didn't need to be made whatsoever. So we're going to be delving into the unnecessary sequels. We each have 3 picks, I think, right?
Yeah. I keep forgetting them, but they'll come back to me.
You're going to get to number 3 and be like, God damn it. Jason's been trying to remember his 3 picks this entire time. So put him on a sticky note or something, dude.
Yeah, I need to. I know my 2. I got it.
And if anyone's wondering what's in the background, Chase found the infamous shot of Mark Wahlberg looking into the sky.
Yeah, that's
Transformers. What is that?
That's Age of Extinction. Yeah, that's Age of Extinction.
That movie was trash.
Yeah,
that movie was hot garbage. Dude.
Yeah, the movie was not good. The Romeo and Juliet law thing and everything like that. It was just
God,
cringe.
dude! Is that the one Anthony Hopkins? Oh no, he was in the last night.
He was in the last
one.
night. Yeah, one with Grimlock and the Dinobots and stuff.
Yeah, but I thought Chase. Yeah. I mean, that was a good pick though. When we're talking about unnecessary sequels, there's a perfect image to kind of embody what we're talking about here. So, I'll start with this one.
Go for it.
This is one that Chase actually loves talking about. He's really going to be excited that I brought this one up because you and I only touched on it for a little bit. I brought it up in another podcast. You actually told me to watch this movie.
Oh damn! Really?
2010, the year we make contact.
Wait, really? How's that? There's no way you find that unnecessary. It is so good.
Perfect talking point, right?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Remember, I didn't say that it's bad. I said that it may be unnecessary. So, I mean, I guess I can start with what I thought about the movie. Maybe we didn't talk about it. I don't remember. I think maybe you just told me to watch it.
Yeah, because I said it's not 2001 level, but it's a perfectly serviceable sequel.
Yeah,
for
maybe
sure.
That's what it was. Maybe I should have saved it for a Versus episode. But I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, let me say this. I'll preface by saying it is not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So I saw it on. Shout out to Tubi, our unofficial sponsor.
Oh, it's on there.
I saw it on there, and it's actually a really decent movie.
Yeah.
Like if I don't think you can make a better 2001 sequel than 2010. So I'll preface by saying that I actually had a really good time watching it. The reason I think it's an unnecessary sequel is because to me, it just kind of tarnishes the ambiguity and the mystery of the first movie. Like you do get into, I mean, this movie still leaves off on a very kind of ambiguous note. Like there's still a lot of stuff you don't have answers to, but I feel like, you're following it's literally a direct sequel to the first one. I mean, I think it picks
up with them talking and stuff from the guy from the transmissions.
Exactly. Yeah. So it picks up from where the first one left off, and you do get a lot of answers to questions that you might have had in the first one. And I feel like just as an audience member or as a film lover, like I would have just liked it to just kind of end with the first one. I don't think I needed to know what happened to, oh my God, what's his face? Who's the main character, dude? The astronaut that goes through the...
Oh, shit.
I forget. Dave, yeah, of course, Dave, yeah. So I don't necessarily need to know what happened to Dave. I feel like that was kind of the beauty of, what... the way the first one ended, where you see the kind of, the baby, it's kind of like this weird, ending that's super debatable. There's so many themes attached to it, and it kind of just transcends time. Like, I mean, that's a movie that's, decades old and people still talk about it today. When you make the sequel, you obviously have to get into logistics about what happened and what that was and where Dave's been and all this other stuff. And they do it really well. I really, really like it. I don't know why. What year was that movie? Like late
In
80s, early
80s,
90s?
yeah, 87, 86, I want to say.
It's like the peak of 80s, early 90s kind of just adventure
84,
sci-fi. 84.
which I
Yeah.
consider one of the best years for movies of all time.
Oh, some great movies in 84. But
Mhm.
it does embody that time period, and it's a
Yeah.
fun adventure to go on.
Yeah.
It's really good. I just don't think it was necessary.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because you know a little bit more. I think you said you've read the books
I've
for
read all of them,
2001.
but the 3001. I have all of them literally right there. Speaking of, with the monolith on top of them,
Oh, they're
right
the
here.
Manta,
Yeah, from the
Manta Lab
Manta
monolith.
OC. Yeah, from the full slip or whatever it was. But yeah, so I think that just might be like the difference of what you seek out, because I'm just on the polar opposite. I want more. I want to know
Mm,
what else is going on in here. There are times like, yeah, like, there a million times over, I wish I could experience 2001 again for the very first time.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like a once in a lifetime experience movie wise that you get to experience. But 2010, I wanted to know more. I wanted it to be
Hmm.
elaborated on. And it definitely does, especially I'm like halfway through 3001, haven't finished the fourth book, but it's just very, very interesting how the many layers from what was essentially, here's how, I mean, of course, spoilers, not necessarily for the books, but what the original 2001's about. It's about like how um aliens essentially kind of butt in to other civilizations and help them grow, is essentially that's what the monolith does,
Hmm.
that's like, if I were to say it in third grade terms, what 2001 is, you know what I mean? Like, that's its most watered down, and it continues throughout all of that. But then you start getting to, middle school, high school level, college level, whenever he really starts dissecting. I mean, that fucking NASA scientist wrote these books,
Hmm.
Arthur C. Clarke. He was a NASA scientist. So the way that he gets very intricate and the way that he starts explaining it. Now, I will say the movie still 2010. It's just like the 2001 book. 2010 still doesn't explain it as well as the books do. Like the first, like I'd say tenth of it is literally just back and forth from God, I forget his name, the guy from the Transmissions, just talking
Um,
about the entire pretty much first book,
yeah.
and
You're the
giving
dude
so much
from
background.
I feel so bad. I forget this actor's name all the time. I don't know. The dude from Jaws. Um,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah,
I forget his name all the time. Amazing actor, by the way.
he's great.
Um, yeah, he's great. But I mean, this movie doesn't really kick off till like halfway through when at least to me, like when Dave actually like appears to him.
Yeah,
And then you get a sense of kind of like what's going on. I mean, it's a great adventure throughout. Like, I mean,
yeah,
it's still fun just like going back to, where the last transmission was left off and going back on the
yeah.
old ship. And they do really like, honestly, the special effects are great.
They're great. The
Um,
practical effects are amazing.
yeah, and honestly, yeah, Dave looks great, especially when they do the kind of like the older makeup on him.
Yeah.
It's a great film. I honestly, and it sucks putting it on this list as like an
It's a
unnecessary
great conversation
sequel.
piece, but I mean, I
Yeah,
know what you're trying to say with it, or what
yeah.
you are saying about it. I
Because
understand
I
completely.
do recommend, honestly, because I think I had the same reaction when you told me to watch this movie. I was like, no, why would I want to see this movie?
Why would
Like
you
it's
want
like
more? Yeah.
2000. Yeah, exactly. But it is a fun movie, and I do recommend people go watch it. But
Yeah.
is it a necessary sequel? I don't think so. And
I
I
can
think
see that.
that's why it's probably on the top of my list because you and I both love 2001 with a passion, and I
Yeah.
think it's I would have just liked it with Kubrick's ending and leave it at that. But like I said, I'm torn. Still a great movie.
Yeah.
I still recommend people go see. I don't think that one just has the Blu-ray release, and they never did a 4K
Very
for it,
old
right?
Blu-ray release. Yeah. And it's just so interesting because, like, there are people that say it is unnecessary. I've had or seen very similar talk tracks like what you're saying, like, yeah,
Mhm.
but it's unnecessary. I think it's just what you
What you want
look
out of
for,
it.
like, yeah, like what we had just said, because I've also seen it at the top of underrated sequel lists to the
Yeah,
fullest extent,
I
because it,
would
it
put it on
really
and
is.
see, I'm so torn on it, dude. I would put it on an underrated sequel list, like, but then
Yeah,
I
and
put
it's
it on
fair.
a necessary
Unwarranted.
sequel list.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a good movie. It really is, and
Yeah.
you weren't the only one, I think, that told me. I had a coworker that was telling me, like, "Yeah, you need to watch it too," and I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What is it? Why is this movie so special?" I thought it was
It's just
kind of
actually a decent follow-up
it's
when you
really
thought
a
there
decent
couldn't be done.
movie. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I and honestly, I would buy it if the 4K came out. Like, I feel like if
Oh,
they did a 4K
100%.
for it, I would buy the 4K. That's how much I enjoyed the movie. So, yeah, man, 2010. What was it called? 2010,
The year we make
The
contact.
Year We Make Contact. That's my number one unnecessary sequel, even though it's a fun movie to watch.
Yep.
What's
Yeah.
your number one? I'm curious because you had a few that you were floating through.
Yeah. So, oh, I remember my third pick now. So, but my first pick,
You better write these down, man. You're gonna get to number 3 and be like, "God damn it."
uh, so I'm gonna more or less have a common theme amongst these where it's like money is a hell of a thing for these
Oh
businesses,
yeah.
you know. I think all three of mine are really gonna fit this category. Um, and I can't really talk much about this. Maybe you can help jog my memory. But
Mhm.
I almost immediately forgot this. But whenever right before we went to record, I kept seeing like that list and stuff, and I was like, "No, these are just bad movies. These aren't like this isn't what we're trying to do. We aren't trying to go for low hanging fruit, right? We're trying
Yeah.
to start dialogue with this." So I went over there, and then it's probably my least favorite 4K on my shelf, and that's Toy Story 4.
Oh, that's a
I think
really interesting pick.
yeah, like, I really like, when I say I really can't remember a lot about this, I just remember turning my TV off. I watched it a couple years after it came out. It wasn't that long ago, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years ago. Because I think this
Okay.
one came out 2018, 19 or so.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I got it up right
I think
here.
it came out during COVID actually, 'cause I
Yes,
actually
it did.
I saw it theatrically when it came out.
Yep, it did. June 21st, 2019. It was one of the last big blockbusters right before
Mm.
that. So I wanna say I watched it during the lockdown on Disney Plus or whatever it was streaming on at the
Mhm.
time, but I just remember being so upset. Like, it was much more of a Woody movie, a Woody and Bo Peep movie, which that's okay, you know,
Yeah.
I really didn't get much anything else out of it. The thing is, and why this is unnecessary, is it doesn't even remotely, and I've seen people talk otherwise, that they think it does live up to the hype of the 3rd, but that 3rd movie is a tearjerker.
Oh,
It
dude,
gets you emotionally
it made me
invested.
cry. I felt
Yeah.
stupid when I watched that movie. I mean, this was 2007 or something, 2005. I
Yeah.
mean, 2005, 2007, I don't remember, but yeah, I
Yeah.
remember crying in the theater and I'm like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, what is this movie doing to
Yeah.
me? Yeah, exactly. It's crazy how, like, Toy Story 3, the first time, I remember just, like, it literally, like, being on the edge of my eyes and just like, "Don't do it," "Don't." And it was just so well made from beginning to end, and at the time that that one came out, I thought it was an unnecessary sequel. Why do we need a 3rd one? The first 2 are
Mhm.
just, goated, everything like that. They're
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. But when this one was announced, I was like, "You can't you have to have." I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt. You have to have something that one-ups 3 because I had the
Yeah.
same mentality about 3 and you proved me wrong. So
Mhm.
please prove me wrong again. And that's why I was excited for it. It's one of my favorite animated franchise, if not probably my favorite animated franchise in that realm.
Mm.
Um, it really is up there. I love those movies. They're very near and dear to my
They're
heart.
phenomenal, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, they're each of them are at least the first 3 are perfect movies in my
I
opinion.
agree. I agree. And it's hard for me to even pick if I love the second one or third one more because I don't know. I'm just partial to Bullseye for some reason and the
The
whole
3rd
like
one,
sideshow.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, the 2nd one has
Yeah.
that, but I think the 3rd one's definitely more of an emotional and, like, it
It's a
finishes
better
off the
movie.
arc. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
in my opinion, 3 is the way to go, but I know a lot of people would argue for 2.
Yeah. Two, there's just some more like childish charm to it. And you can tell Toy Story 3 was made for the people that grew up with these movies. And that's why I
Mhm.
respected it so much. And Toy Story 4 didn't feel that way for me. It felt
Mm.
a little bit like an insult, to be honest with you. You had
Wow,
nothing new to show
interesting.
me. You had nothing worth my time. I don't give a damn about Woody falling in love with Bo Peep. I don't. The entire time, I don't. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get emotionally invested about that. I'm just not. Like, you have to have something different. I believe this takes up after Andy goes to college and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And it was a nothing burger to me. I really wanted
Yeah.
to watch it again and see if I would give it a second shot and maybe like it more. And I have no motivation to do that. It's just not a good movie to
Interesting.
me.
I I can see your point. I actually I mean, I haven't seen it since it came out theatrically, but I
Yeah.
do remember that I liked it, but it didn't live up to the original trilogy to me.
Yeah.
To me, honestly, it would have been better if they just named this Toy Story something else. Like, don't throw a number on there. Make this kind of like a side movie that
Yeah.
doesn't, you know what I mean? Because it really just explores the theme of like what happens with these disregarded or not disregarded toys, but like the toys that are kind of like aging out, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think they're in an antique shop. That's where they find Bo Peep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and 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 then you have like another. The ending made me emotional in a way because I mean they're like Woody saying goodbye to Buzz, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then I'm like, dude, you guys are just doing the same thing from 3 again, though. Like
Exactly.
I'm like my heartstrings are getting tugged on, and I'm like, oh no, they're gonna say goodbye. But then I'm like, the other part of my brain's like, you guys are just repeating the same thing from 3. So
Yeah.
it to me, it's not a bad movie. Like it definitely it's not trash to me whatsoever. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd give it a solid rating, but it doesn't reach when you have 3 perfect movies.
Yeah,
It
that's where it falls flat. It's
yeah.
just it's hard. Like if this was a first, or which would be hard to kind of say or compare in this realm because it is a fourth,
Mhm.
and in every which way it is a fourth movie. It's just hard to like. I like to gauge things on their own, like I always say, and not compare it to anything. But it's so hard. It's so hard when you have those 3 before it, like you just said. Like
Mhm.
my official rating, I'd say 4.5 to 5, which is just middle
Damn.
of the road. I just didn't like it, man. And
Wow.
now
I think
again, I
mine's
could eat
like
my own
7
words.
or an 8 probably. Like, I
And
really liked
that's
it.
fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very fair. And maybe I was just watching it in a pissed off mood, and maybe I need
Mhm.
to watch it in a much better attitude, but I
Maybe, but
didn't
you're not
like it.
wrong. I mean, it is kind
Yeah.
of, it's treading kind of territory that doesn't need to be, treaded on again. Like
Yeah.
I did feel kind of this repeat mode, right? And I feel like if
Yeah.
they had made this kind of just if they advertised it as like, this is not, you have your main trilogy and this is kind of like, we're just kind of exploring,
What
Woody
they're
and
doing
Bo
after,
Peep.
or what
Yeah,
this.
it's
Yeah.
just kind of like a side movie, then I feel like that's maybe a little bit,
I
I'd
would
be a
have
little bit
understood it
more
better.
forgiving. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're naming it 4, and I heard they're doing a 5. I could be wrong. I don't know if I
No,
freaking
don't.
I'm just
Don't.
crushing Chase right now.
Don't.
He's like, "Yeah, I
Oh
heard
my
it."
god. Toy Story 5 is scheduled to be released on June 19th,
Who's the
2026.
director, though? I heard that they actually got a really decent the director of Wall-E, if I'm not wrong,
Andrew Stanton.
which I think he did direct Wall-E, right?
Let's see. He was the writer of the first 2.
Oh, okay.
He helped assist on the story for the third one. Yes, he did direct Wall-E.
Okay.
He did direct and write Finding Nemo. He wrote
Mm.
Monsters Inc.
Okay, so this dude has credentials.
Yeah, he's done a lot of Pixar. Finding Dory. He was just a writer on Toy Story 4. Yeah, Toy Story 5. It's not announced if he's the writer, but he is the director.
Wow,
And
okay.
he was a he was an EP on Lightyear, which I haven't seen that, and I've actually heard
I
okay things.
I haven't seen
Yeah,
it either just 'cause I'm like, I just don't see the point. Like,
yeah,
to me, it's like, why are you making that movie with I mean, the whole gag of Buzz Lightyear is that he's a fucking doll, like, it's not
yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? I don't need his, like, actual space origin.
yeah,
I really don't need to see that.
yeah.
But that's a good pick, dude. Toy
Yeah, I
Story
feel like it was.
4.
Saw it on my shelf because I that Target edition kept going on sale for like I think $8.
Dude, that
Like
movie's
all
always
like
like $6 to $8 sometimes. Even at Zia Records, I'll see it, like, I'll go buy it, it's like $3, $4. Like,
yeah.
seriously, like, it's super dirt
Take me,
cheap.
please. Is
Yeah.
what there's those
And I
sticker
get
prices.
it, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
it's I get it, but it's a decent movie. Like, honestly, if that movie was made on its own and the first trilogy never existed, it'd be, everyone would think it's a phenomenal movie, but it's
yeah,
just it's been, it's territory we've seen before.
yeah. I agree. I
That's
agree.
a good
Perfect
pick, dude.
segue
You yeah,
into
you
your second.
yeah, you threw me out of the loop with that one. This
I
one
knew
we
I
kind of
would.
yeah, this one we actually did talk about a little bit before we rolled.
Mhm.
Avatar: The Way of Water.
Oh yeah, we did talk
Which
about
is
that.
yeah, which is interesting because you kind of disclosed to me before we started rolling that you actually are you didn't say a big fan of the Avatar movies, but you like them a lot.
Yeah, it was like I was obsessed with the original one, and then I forgot about it, which I think everybody did, which kind of leads
Mhm.
to the way that I'm thinking you feel.
Yeah, I mean the original. I guess it's important to talk about the original when we're talking about Way of Water because like the
Yeah,
original, mind you, came out, and this is gonna say a lot. I mean, this was like the Dark Knight time frame when this movie came out, I believe.
yeah.
But right, it wasn't like 2007, 2008.
2009 for the original.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Well, so my brain was still Nolan Batman, and I don't give a shit about anything else. But so like I saw the original, and I think the, the original to me is just really. I saw it in IMAX, so
Yeah,
it was just really underwhelming to me. And the reason being is because I feel like I mean it was James Cameron, right? It's like James Cameron's back. It's like this new 3D technology, and
yeah,
which was great. I'm not going to shit on the 3D.
yeah. It
Like
was so
3D is
good.
actually looks really really good when you saw it theatrically.
Yeah,
Especially in IMAX, it looked like freaking like you could put your hand through the screen.
yeah,
But the plot, I feel like the movie, like Avatar, was just the technology and the hype of the event itself. I felt
yep.
like the
Agreed.
movie itself is just like it just kind of falls flat. It's just Dancing with Wolves pretty much with a lot of CGI. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the same story. It's just, it's been done so many times, and
It's very cliche and generic.
yeah, it doesn't bring anything new to the table. So when I walked out of it, I'm like, it's a gorgeous looking movie, and it's
Yeah.
probably some of the best CGI at that time that we've ever seen,
Mhm.
and the best 3D that I've seen in
Ever.
a long
Still.
ever. Yeah, I
There
mean,
was nothing that ever matched it after that or before that.
I'll even say Way of Water to me didn't reach the 3D of the original.
I
I
actually
don't
didn't
know
go see it in
why.
3D. I went and just
Oh,
saw it
really?
standard. Yeah, I skipped
I'm
3D.
surprised because you're like a big 3D fan,
I
aren't you?
Yeah, I still got a 3D TV or 3D OLED TV for people that don't know. I have
So
the
why didn't you
2060
see
Ti.
Way of Water in
I caught it
3D?
actually really late whenever that movie was coming out.
Okay.
There was a lot going on, and I wasn't going to that. Like, I think it came out in December at that time, and
Yeah,
then
it was like
December to
Christmas.
like that season, I was so busy. Like, it was
Mm,
unreal for like a 3-hour movie for me to be able to sit down
yeah.
uninterrupted and go to see that. I managed to find time because they were showing it late, but since it was so late, their showings were like 7, 8 o'clock, or even earlier, like 6, ending at 9 or so. So it
And
was
you're like
hard for me
3
to find one.
hours.
Yeah, exactly. It was hard for me to be able to
Yeah.
find time, get off work, go and make sure, and then make sure I finished what I had to do at home, this and that. It
Mhm.
was a really hard time at that point in my life to balance. So that's the only reason I
That's
didn't.
fair.
I managed to get to it, but 3D had already stopped and they were only showing
Mm.
standard at that point. But
It
I
it
would have.
didn't reach the peak. I'd be curious to see people comment down below or talk about it in the server. Like the 3D did not reach, at least to me, the peak the original did. Like
Yeah.
for some reason, and especially I saw it in 60 frames, like 3D. So it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
it just looked weird, and
Did it?
yeah, it just bothered me. I don't know. So something about 60 frames a second, dude. It just bothers me, especially in a
Yeah.
movie. It just looks super fake. But um, so Way of Water.
Mhm.
I th this is the thing with that movie. It's the same fucking movie
Pretty much.
in a way, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, like I mean, he obviously he's older, he has a family now, it's a different dynamic, but it's the same movie. You have the bad guys. I mean, the same freaking villain as the first one too, which was so freaking annoying to have to deal with. I'm like, I hated the villain in the first one, and then you get
Yeah, I
the same
agree.
freaking villain again.
Yeah.
Um, there are some beautiful shots and moments in this movie, especially like with the whales.
Yeah.
Like there are some
Underwater scenes are
amazing moments.
crazy.
Yeah, the underwater scenes are crazy. But I just kind of walked out like, huh. Like the same feeling I had with the original was the feeling I had with this one. It was like this huge event. I'm
Yeah.
like the Avatar sequel. Everyone's going to. I mean, it was breaking records, I think, at the time with how many people were seeing it. And
Yeah.
I just walked out again like, dude, it's just people for some reason have this like weird, like this hype comes around Avatar, and I don't understand why. I really don't understand why.
I think what it is it's kind of one of the reasons the Marvel movies are successful. They really don't have they have a linear story, but one that
Hmm.
you can more or less summarize in way less runtime than how much those movies actually run for. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
Like I could probably give you an entire MCU rundown in about an hour, hour and a half from front to back.
shorter than
And
that
you
probably.
yeah, exactly. And that's me being generous with that. That's
Hmm.
me maybe going on a side quest along the way about one of the something
Hmm.
about it. So I think it's what makes those types of things special, right? And I definitely think Avatar helped to kind of kickstart that Marvel momentum. Iron Man, of course, came out, I want to say about a year before, maybe 2 years,
Hmm.
2008, because Avatar was for sure 2009. It's just sometimes there's just nice, like, no matter the movie, just to get sucked into it. It's like I'm not watching Planet Earth for the story. I'm watching it because it just looks beautiful. And that's kind of
Yeah.
how I feel about Avatar. But the story, absolutely, I agree. The story was actually kind of miserable for Way of Water. Like it was
Hmm.
actually miserable for me to get through. Like when they
Way too
weren't,
long.
yeah, that's my biggest problem with the Avatar movies is they are way too long, and that's what I found unnecessary because he filmed 3 of them. There's 2 more
Dude,
for sure.
yeah, he's three. He's going up to part 5.
That's crazy. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
gonna watch them, but that's crazy. But yeah, because like they're just like dumb, turn your mind off, have fun type of stuff, right?
Hmm.
And that's what I enjoy. But also, usually they're a lot more digestible time frame wise or runtime wise.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I can't say they aren't digestible for everybody because it did over $2 billion, I think, maybe just under during its theatrical run. It did
Hmm.
stupid amounts of money.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just think, those types of movies, there's no reason for them to run over an hour 45, 2 hours. There's
2
not
hours
that
is a
much
sweet
story.
spot.
Yeah. And what? This one was 2 hours and 40 something minutes.
Dude, this one's like, yeah, close to 3 hours long. I was
Yeah.
like, seriously, I'm like, there's so many. I remember watching it. I'm like, you can cut the scene out. You can cut the scene
Yeah.
out. You can cut.
3 hours and 12 minutes, man.
Oh god, dude, yeah.
Yeah.
It's and let me say this, like I'd rate like Avatar like a C, and Way of Water. To be honest with you, it's not worse or better. It to
It's
me,
the
I
same
walked out
thing.
this. To me, it's the same thing. I gave it like a C. It's not a bad movie. There's some
Yeah.
really redeeming qualities about the film, but mainly it's like cinematography, the technology,
That's all
the
of it.
acting's
Yep.
really good, right? The acting's really good. I just think James Cameron's just super weird sometimes. Like I remember watching some behind the scenes footage of him filming the second one, and he's like, we're filming all these underwater scenes, like actually underwater. And but I'm like, dude, you have so much green screen in this movie. I'm like, why do you need to film that underwater?
Yeah, at that point, just make it
Like
more realistic, but then you already have all the green
yeah, but
screen.
he's like
Yeah.
literally making Kate Winslet like hold her breath for like fucking minute. I don't know how many minutes it was, but it's James Cameron's weird, dude. Like he's a
Yeah.
different beast. Like, but
Yeah.
it to me they're just kind of like mediocre movies for the hype that surrounds them. And the second
Yeah.
one is just it doesn't really expand on the original that much, even though there are some redeeming qualities with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely just a visual feast for me. Yeah, I like the world, like that water world, everything, the underwater creatures, everything like that. It's
Mhm.
absolutely unreal how great that
Oh,
part
for
looks.
sure. And
I couldn't really get over that.
I haven't even watched the disc yet. I have it on my
Oh,
shelf, but I haven't
really?
popped it in yet. But I'm sure it looks
Yeah.
gorgeous.
It looks really good, man. Like, I wouldn't sit here and say it's like reference or it's the best of the best or this, that, or
Mhm.
the third, but it definitely looked really good. It should have been split up on 2 discs to fully
Mm.
capitalize on it for
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
Because it felt
Well,
like,
because he
I
did the
mean,
re-release with didn't he re-release it with Dolby Vision like a second time?
yeah. Yeah, and like
That
these
pissed me off.
collectors, yeah, these collectors packets, which I actually just got the original one because I didn't want to pay $30 for a standard. Like it just
Mhm.
the original Avatar just wasn't dropping in price in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's just one of those
So
movies.
yeah, dude, I got it for the collector's one that was like $50 whenever it dropped.
Mhm.
I got it for like 21, $22 on
Oh,
eBay. It was posted in
that's
the
a
server.
deal.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
really good deal. And so, dude, it has these cardboard slots, and I've never had to fight for my life harder to
Oh
get a disc out
god,
of any
dude.
case that's not a steelbook because I still am adamant that steelbooks, I love them. They're gorgeous, but getting a disc out of a steelbook still pisses me off.
Yeah.
When you get a bad
It's
steelbook, you almost got to bend it in half.
yeah.
But that one, it genuinely is bad because it like pops out. So you have to put
Mm.
this pressure and it's like sliding on this
Ugh,
cardboard. And
I
it's like,
hate
dude, I can't
cardboard
rewatch.
sleeves, dude. I fucking
Yeah.
can't stand them. I hate the Hitchcock sets. I hate the Mummy trilogy set. I hate all anything with a
Yeah.
paper sleeve. I fucking can't stand it.
Well, those ones, see, I can stand because they have enough space in there. I can put them in
Mhm.
the little paper sleeves that have the felt in there. So
Oh,
that way
gotcha.
it doesn't get scratched and I can,
Mhm.
do that. But those ones that's perfectly slotted to the disc, I can't do
Yeah,
it.
that's
And it
annoying.
literally almost clicks into the slot. But yeah, Way of Water looks good. And the original Avatar looks really good on 4K as
I'm
well. But
sure.
I think they could look better. I mean, almost anything Disney puts out could look better, but that's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
much
100%. I mean,
yeah.
Disney's just weird in the way they put out transfers. Like to me, a lot of times it's like, oh, you look like a 3.5 or 4 out of 5.
Mhm.
Like it's never anything like mind blowing for whatever
Right.
reason. But I'm sure Way of Water looks great. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, and then now we're getting. I mean, speaking of unnecessary sequels, we're getting 3 more Avatar movies. Like I just don't understand like what else you can do
Supposed to be
in
fire
that
people in the
world.
next one.
Is it?
That's what I heard.
He's gonna do like the all the elements and just
I think
Avatar, like
that's
the
what kind of
actual anime Avatar, like the.
yeah. Did you know a fun fact for the people out there? Do you know that's why that TV show is called Avatar: The Last Airbender? Because he's had James Cameron has had Avatar trademarked for film and TV purposes since like the early 2000s.
Really?
Yeah, I actually found that as a fun fact. So I was like, why is it called Avatar:
The
The Last
Last
Airbender? This,
Airbender?
that. And it just popped up randomly one day that's the reason why he's had it trademarked for a while in every which way that you can possibly imagine.
What the hell? Well, I actually just started watching that because I've been on a kick. Like, I've been watching a lot of like anime and stuff. I've been like catching up
Avatar's
on all the
great.
anime. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Avatar it's actually really, really good. I'm like
really
a
well
few
made.
episodes in, yeah. But I did not know that. Yeah, so
Yeah.
screw you, James Cameron.
Yeah. Otherwise, it probably would have just been called Avatar and not The Last
Interesting.
Airbender.
Yeah.
Just like, you have Legend of Korra, not Legend of Korra: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, I need to watch that one too. Damn, dude. I
Yeah,
forgot that
Legend of
there's
Korra
like
is
a
good.
follow-up. Well, yeah, Avatar: The Way of Water. I mean, cool movie. I mean, it's just nothing. It's whatever. I think I got the steelbook. I think each of us got the steelbook when it went on sale, right? The wasn't it like
Oh, yeah,
$10 on
it
Best
was
Buy?
$10 on Best
Yeah,
Buy.
and I was
Hell
like, why
yeah.
not?
Yeah, hell yeah. It's a
But I still haven't touched
nice
it.
steelbook.
Yeah, it's a
It's
nice
nice.
steelbook, but I
Yeah,
haven't popped it open to watch it though. Like I'm just like I saw it in the theater and I'm like, I'm good.
yeah. That's very
So what
fair.
about you, man? Number 2, unnecessary sequel.
Well, this one will come as a surprise to a lot of people.
Mm.
But it is why I put it as the background, but it's going to be the
Mm.
Transformers movies.
Which one in particular? Or
I mean,
did you all of them?
no, so it's really hard to say. So I don't. Okay, so let's preface. The
Mhm.
original Transformers is a pretty solid adaptation.
I think
It's
it's
really
great.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really, really, really good. I don't think it's perfect, but I think
Mhm.
for at the time when everything was a bit grittier, a bit darker, I think it's a really, really, really good product of its time that still stands the test of time. You can still pop it in and have fun. Revenge of the Fallen, as much as I really do think that's one of the worst sequels, like follow-ups that I've ever
Mhm.
seen, it makes sense because at least they also still have a story going on with Sam Witwicky, right? Then
Yeah.
I also believe that they raised that bar and went back up to the same heights as the first one. I am one of those people. I think Dark of the Moon is genuinely the best one.
Oh,
Now,
you
to
think it's the
preface,
best
I
one?
think it's easily the best one, but
Oh, I
also
didn't know that.
yeah, hear me out on this part though for the audience before you go in the comments, anybody else. I do believe that Transformers the movie is not only the best Transformers movie, like the old
Mhm.
school 80s animated one, because that movie is so dark. Then you get Rodimus Prime and you get season 3 of the OG Generation 1 Transformers and Rodimus was so cool. That movie was fucking dark. And they adapted a lot out of that movie, like about Ironhide and stuff. They adapted a lot of that into Dark of the Moon. So that's why it's a little bit more special in my heart. I don't want to
Mm.
sit here and say it's better than the original, but I think it just on a personal level, it hit a lot better, especially with
Yeah.
like Ironhide and everything. But then you start getting into Age of Extinction. I can't pick which one of those is worse because Age of Extinction is bad for so many reasons, and I love Transformers. You can kind of tell how much I'm going into detail about all the different nuance and mediums that it's in.
Mhm.
But I love Transformers so much, and this one just made no sense. You spend so long giving us new characters. Mark Wahlberg, I don't despise him as an actor, but he's
Not
he's not a
bad.
ticket seller, you know?
No. I
Like
mean,
I'd rather go see a Rock movie before I go see a Mark Wahlberg movie for the most part.
to me, they're like the same. It's just like
Oh,
it's the
really?
name. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
okay, like you know what you're gonna get with a Mark Wahlberg movie or a movie
Yeah.
with The Rock. Like that's how they are to me.
Yeah, that's fair. Like it just feels like Mark Wahlberg. I don't know how to say this. I don't want to sound insulting, but it sounds like he wants to be a ticket seller or like a Tom Cruise, but he's not a Tom Cruise. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like he really, really wants to be like a Hollywood star. He's a Hollywood star. That's not what I'm trying to say. He
yeah,
wants to be like one of those action guys, and I just don't think it works for him. You know
yeah.
what
There's
I mean?
something he just doesn't sell the tickets. I'll actually
Yeah.
take that back. I do think Mark Wahlberg is better than The Rock because he.
Really?
Well, dude, I mean, he had The Fighter. I just started remembering he did The Fighter. He did The
Okay, that's fair.
Departed. Like he was in The Departed and had that
Those
funny
are
ass
so
character.
different though than
They
something like
are,
this.
but
Those are
like,
good.
but I don't think Rocket has any movies like to that caliber.
No, but I will say that I saw somebody cry right next to me when I went to go see San Andreas in theaters. So,
Really?
has Mark Wahlberg made you do that?
No, he hasn't, Chase. He hasn't. But
No,
I
off
see what
that
you're saying
tangent,
with
but
Mark.
yeah.
Like, yeah, like he's
Yeah.
just not. He's not a captivating like lead, especially for
Yeah, he's
Transformers.
not. Yeah, he's not in my realm, man. He's just not the guy that I prefer to go to. And I don't even think he's the worst part of it. I just think it's the freaking direction they decide to go in there. They
Mhm.
pretty much forget everything that happens in the previous ones. Optimus Prime shows up like Sam Witwicky never existed. And that's not even the worst felony that this movie is being charged for in this court. They're being charged for the Romeo and Juliet bullshit that they had in there.
I
That was
remember that
just so dumb.
vaguely, like
Yeah,
vaguely.
it comes up on the server sometimes where it's like, this isn't true. They actually had it wrong, and they're actually like like not in a lawful relationship. It's just weird to put in a movie. Why the fuck would you put it in a movie? Like,
Yeah,
regardless of the context, like you could have just said, "I'm right out of high school." I'm a few years older. Left it at that, but you made it
yeah,
almost a whole fucking plot point. Like,
yeah.
why? Who read that script and was
Did
like, "This is cinema"?
speaking of the script, I mean, did Bay like did he approve this story and direct this one? I don't remember who directed this one.
Are you asking if Age
Like,
of
was it Michael
Extinction?
Bay that he? that directed this one, or was it someone else? Because I remember like he was like involved but not involved. Like it was
Let's see.
weird.
You know, he directed it.
Oh, he
Written by
directed
Aaron
it?
Kruger.
No way.
He wrote.
Interesting.
He's the same writer for Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon. He
So
also
he
had
was-
writing credits on Top Gun Maverick.
He was smoking crack when he wrote this, then.
Yeah. He also did The Ring 2, Rings, The Ring, Scream 3, he was a writer on. Reindeer Games, and Arlington Road, which Arlington Road is actually a good movie.
So he was smoking crack.
Yeah,
when he wrote this,
dude, like
something happened.
He took a really bad trip and then decided to put it on a script. But yeah, so that's not even the. I really still don't think Age of Extinction is even the worst one in this one, man. I think The Last Night is just absolutely fucking dog shit. Like, you tease the entire trailers for this movie for The Last Night. I believe that's the one right after this one. I don't remember. Is there? No, because there's only two Mark Wahlberg ones, and then they go right to the Beast.
Bumblebee was Bumblebee. Well, I mean, if you count Bumblebee, but
Bumblebee
was
is
actually really good.
Yeah, Bumblebee was good. I didn't think it. I don't think it was like high perfect level. Like some people were making it out like, you know, Transformers is back, this and that. It's good, but
no, to me it's like it brought interest back into Transformers.
Yeah, it just was a fresh breath of air. But The Last Night just committed so many treasonous acts. Like it did, man. It betrayed me in ways not possible. I didn't think possible. Dude, like you tease the Dinobots, and you got to understand, like that is like what you have 4 movies of no Dinobots, and Grimlock is a lot of people's favorite Transformer. So then you're constantly teasing him, you know, doing this, doing that, teasing the Dinobots, and he's only in the final act. The fuck
I think
is
I remember that.
What the fuck is that, man? Like,
dude, I haven't seen that movie since it came out theatrically. I don't know why I went to go see it theatrically. I think we were like we're just like bored, and we were like, okay, let's just go watch it.
Just go watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the whole time I was like, this is such trash. I'm like, this movie
was so
sucks.
bad, man.
It's bad.
It was genuinely bad. And
I would say it's worse than Age of Extinction. Actually,
I agree,
like,
because of the blue balls it gave you. Because there was it was so strong, man. So it's just, oh my god, man. You have Anthony Hopkins in here, and he has like this Butler Transformers wasted, and then one of my favorite Transformers, maybe people don't realize this, there's a little cameo appearance from one of my favorite Transformers from way back, Hot Shot. He's in that movie, but then immediately gets taken out. Yeah, he's like pointless. So like they have so many expendable characters, this and that. It has no weight to it. Anthony Hopkins' character is wasted, and it's just like, you know, Mark Wahlberg is apparently the second fucking coming of King Arthur. It's like, dude what?
Yeah.
Like, okay, let me look up. Okay, now we were wondering
which one had I one of these had, I'll give it just because I know we're like trying not to go for the low hanging fruit here. I will say one of these had a really badass Bumblebee scene, and I don't remember what it was. It was like Bumblebee like diving and like killing a bunch of people and land.
Like,
yeah, which one was that? Was that Age of Extinction or Last Night?
I want to say that was the last, because it had some really good action sequences in it.
Yeah, because I remember, I remember that happened, and people in the theater were like, it was dead, bro. That theater, you could just tell the vibe. Everyone's like, this is stupid, this is shit. But when that scene happened with Bumblebee, like actually some people clapped and like felt alive again. And I'm like, that was a pretty good action sequence. But like, the movie was just trash.
Yeah, and I agree. It is. Oh god, it's just I just don't get the King Arthur part. But like, I mean, even then, like even after like, you know, you're 2/3 of the way already through the movie, and then you have freaking Optimus writing Grimlock. Like, okay, I can forgive you for giving me this whole terrible plot point. You know, you get him coming in, riding him like he's a horse. That is freaking awesome. But for me to wait so long for that, like it would have been cooler for them to just be a part of it, because then nothing happens once you get to Rise of the Beasts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, Rise of the Beast, I think, is one of the better ones. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's dog shit like others said.
Not amazing. I mean, I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's a bad movie. It's just kind of
like the setting.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a cool setting. The 80s. It was the 80s or no 90s. It was the 90s, right?
Yeah, it was it was the 90s, and I liked it. I thought it was cool. But that guy that wrote this movie, dude, his only credits, he wrote Iron Man, Punisher, Warzone, Transformers Last Night, Men in Black International, Uncharted, and he's writing the new Kraven the Hunter movie. Okay, so Kraven the Hunter is just, yeah, Kraven the Hunter is just magically.
I mean, that trailer. I mean, I know you don't watch trailers. Have you seen the trailer for that movie?
They've dropped a trailer for Kraven,
dude. Like months ago. I want to say even like 8 months ago, 9 months ago.
Damn, really?
It looks like trash.
Like worse than Madam Web?
No, it doesn't look like as bad as Madam Web. But like, it looks bad. Like it looks really bad. Like Russell Crowe's in there too. Like he's just like I don't know why he's there or why they're using him. It's just a waste. But I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, it, I would say like
Just
talking about it
unnecessary.
now. I think
Yeah.
the last night was way worse than like I remember watching Age of Extinction. I'm like, this is bad. But I remember like watching the last night. Now it's all coming back to me, and I was like, man, this is like dreadfully bad. Like this is
Yeah.
like painful. Like this is just
Yeah.
like you guys need to stop.
Yeah, and it's purely on a story level because, like, of course, and most people, like, I've talked to other Transformers fans like myself. Shout out Reeve. I don't know if he listens to us, but I talk to him about Transformers in there all the
Mhm.
time. And they're just popcorn movies. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure.
It's no different than Fast and Furious. You're just gonna
Mhm.
see if they're gonna go from the moon to Jupiter next.
Yeah.
You're just tuned in to see what they're gonna do,
Mhm.
and that's okay. And those have their place. I just think it started getting a bit unnecessary, and it just felt so cash grabby after a point. Like it
Yeah.
really, genuinely did. And
And
that's
and
why
that
this
was
one
Bay
bugs
too,
too.
right? At the last night?
Yeah, absolutely. It had to have been if it wasn't whoever wrote it.
Uh,
Yeah, directed by Michael Bay. I think the
yeah, I
first
don't
one
know
he
what the heck
didn't
he was
do
in.
was Beast Wars and Bumblebee
Mm.
because he definitely didn't do Bumblebee.
What's interesting too about the last night, and I don't remember a lot, you'd have to remind me. I remember the blonde chick from the Age of Extinction, right? That whole like love story shit or whatever.
Mm,
Like she doesn't even show up in this one.
no, I don't remember her
Like
at all.
yeah, like so that's what's weird too. It's like you're introducing all these new characters, right? Because you're done with Shia LaBeouf and everything, and then it's like okay, we're just gonna disregard these characters from the last movie. We're just sticking with Mark Wahlberg, and like it was a weird transition away from Shia LaBeouf. It really was.
It was, and it was very jarring. And I know it was because like a lot of the cast and crew didn't get along, and
Yeah,
Shia
Megan Fox,
LaBeouf,
I think, had issues with Bay
Michael
at the
Bay,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Shia LaBeouf, as far as I'm aware, he just did Nymphomaniac and just wanted to do more serious art housey roles instead of
Yeah,
big
and good for
blockbusters.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I haven't heard of drama. Shia LaBeouf, as much as he had his phases, he doesn't. Based on what I've seen, I don't think I've really heard a lot of like behind the scenes issues with him. Yeah,
Mhm.
I could be wrong, but yeah, as far as I'm aware, he just literally left because he wanted to do more art housey films. That's it.
Which is fair. I mean, you don't
Yeah,
like as an actor, you don't want to like
gonna be the
if you're
Transformers guy forever.
exactly, you're just kind of embodied by a franchise and you don't really explore something else like that could be damaging early on in your career.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
I'm not shitting on him for not being in the other ones, but definitely suffered. I think
Yeah.
when you're not following the same characters, it hurts. And yeah, those
Hmm.
movies, man. I mean, we'll see how the next ones do because they're trying to do the whole Hasbro universe now with the way Rise of Beast
Hmm.
ended. So I don't know how that's gonna play
I
out
love
because I
GI
on
Joe, so let's see.
dude, I will say GI Joe the movie that came out. Which one was
You
that?
don't like those? Those just have their own stupid charm to them, man.
No, you're gonna get pissed at what I'm saying. What year was the first one? Uh,
2007 or 8.
Film
Because I
series.
know
Hold on,
those were
yeah,
supposed to cross over too. The ones
yeah,
with
Rise
Channing
of the
Tatum.
Cobra.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rise of Cobra.
that is the only movie that I've seen theatrically that I almost wanted to walk out on.
Really?
I was with my brother at the time. He was asking me, "Do you want to walk out?" Like he was already ready to go. He's like, "This is
Yeah,
trash," and I'm just like, I, as a film lover, even when it's like a shitty movie, I still
yeah,
let me watch it all the way through just to see like if it
yeah,
changes. The last 10 minutes could be like a game changer
yeah,
for a
yeah.
movie. So I was just like, no, let's just fucking. But the whole time, dude, I was like, I need to leave this fucking movie theater. And then when the credits hit, I'm like, let's fucking go. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I have not watched any of the sequels since then.
I was gonna say because I think the first two are watchable, and Snake Eyes is pretty fucking bad.
Oh, is it? Because I
Snake
remember
Eyes was
seeing the
really bad.
trailer for it, and I'm like, that looks kind of dope. But
It did. It's
okay.
just it'll piss you off if you're a GI Joe fan.
Okay. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
never like super into GI Joe. I was more into like Transformers growing up than GI
same.
Joe, but like I don't know, the first movie, dude, it just couldn't do it. But I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that's a conversation for a whole other episode.
Yeah, whenever the GI
uh
Joe Transformers crossover comes out,
oh god, dude.
it's
I'm like,
happening. It's
please.
real.
I know, but I mean the way it ended, I mean they have that end credit scene with Rise of the Beast where it's pretty much
Yeah,
confirming, yeah, it's a Hasbro
yeah.
universe, but I'm like, why? Why are you guys doing
Why
this?
not? It's what they're
Yeah.
saying. Every time somebody asks why, somebody up
Mhm.
there in a boardroom replies, "Why not?"
Why not? Don't
We have
judge
the
us. It's our
money.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
it's our money.
Um, so that was your pick. That was your number 2, right?
That was my number 2.
Okay, this one. So this one, I think you and I have talked about it last time we were talking about doing this episode, and
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think you have seen this franchise. I'm 100% confident you have.
Was-
Matrix Reloaded.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay,
I've
and
seen all 4 of them.
I want to preface and say I like Matrix Reloaded. I don't think it's as good as the first one by
Yeah,
not
because
even a
that's the
close
second one,
margin.
right?
Yep, the
Yeah,
second
okay.
one.
Then
Um,
Revolutions and then Reanimation or whatever the new one was.
we don't want to talk about the new one, man.
Yeah,
That one
the
hurt when I
smartphone
saw it.
version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matrix Reloaded, dude, that's another one where I don't want to say it's bad. Like honestly, like because I think I don't know if I've said this on the podcast. I think the first Matrix is honestly like a classic of like I
Mhm.
think it's literally probably one of the greatest science fiction, if not the greatest science fiction movie ever made. I think it's a perfect 10
Yeah,
out of 10. Like there's nothing wrong, at least for me.
yeah,
Matrix Reloaded came out. I mean, I was a kid. I was hyped for it. So, but like
yeah.
looking at it objectively years later, I'd give it like a I'd give it like a B. Like to me, it's not horrible, but it's not like it's not reaching the heights and the peaks of the first one. The issue with Matrix Reloaded, similar to 2010, I feel like in the original Matrix, it was so cool. They talk about Zion, they talked about like the machines, and they talked about humanity and like the war against the. And I'm like, this sounds so cool, but I don't think I need to see it on screen. And that's what Matrix Reloaded is, and that's what Matrix
Mhm.
Revolution. It's like you're seeing the entire war with the machines and humanity take place, and it just kind of took away some of that charm and some of that mystery for me. But at the same time, there's a lot of badass action scenes in Matrix Reloaded. I feel like if you watch Matrix Reloaded again, it has really some of the best action scenes of like the early 2000s of when it came out. I think it came out like 2002 or something like
3.
that.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah,
2003?
because it's 2002, and then whatever the third one was, Revolutions
Revolutions, yeah, came out
came out the
2000
next year.
that one, that's another one, but, like, it Reloaded had a lot of cool like, when you have freaking Lawrence Fishburne with a fucking samurai sword and an Uzi on the highway, and he's
Yeah.
shooting dude, come on, man.
Yeah.
That's so badass, like, I think it's
Yeah.
great, like, that highway sequence is so fucking well done,
Yeah.
but it just really took a lot of it's just another example, I feel like when you go into mythos, when you go into, like, the lore of a universe, and you just start going into it too much, it just ruins something. Like for
Yeah.
me at least. Like even like with a this is another example. I mean, it's not a movie, but like the Rings of Power show that just came out for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It to me it's hot garbage. It's trash, but it's because you're going into this like lore and this like backstory that I don't need to get into. And
Yeah,
it's to me
yeah.
it's a waste of time to get into. And I feel kind of like Matrix Reloaded does that in a way. As much as I really like the movie, I think it's a really,
Yeah.
really great movie. You have that scene with him fighting like the 10,000 Smiths or whatever. I don't know how
That
many
was great.
Smiths.
Yeah.
That was great. It's a great freaking. It's like 10 minutes long, 15 minutes long. He's just like
Yeah.
I remember seeing it with my dad because I was too young to go see this movie. I think it was rated R at the time.
Mhm.
He took us to see this, and I remember he was like, "How long is this scene?" It was like 8 minutes in, and he's still, fighting all these Agent Smiths. But it was such a
Yeah.
blast to watch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the one I wanted to choose just because I feel like it's a great sequel. It's a fun movie, but I don't think it was necessary to make. I think you could have stopped with The Matrix and left it at that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest sins that franchise might have committed was not giving it more time between. I think that
Oh,
because I
interesting.
mean, 2 years, 2001, 2000, was it 2 years? Might have
Well,
even only been a year
99
and a
was
half.
the original. And then
99.
oh, you know what? I think didn't they film them back to back though? I think they filmed
The,
Reloaded
the
and
the second and third
Revolutions
one.
back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they essentially had two more drop within the next 4 years. I think you should have just given it more time for people to want more, which I guess in the grand
Mhm.
scheme of things, especially at that time, that is enough time. But especially when you're dealing with a lot of lore, you're dealing with a lot of CGI and stuff like that. That's really not a lot of time.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I think if you had given it a little bit more, and I guess the same thing can be said about the fourth one, but that just didn't work. You only had one of the Wachowskis, you
Yeah,
know?
that I mean, that was a part of it too. I mean, there's a lot of issues with the fourth one.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
just a
that one's
part of
just
it.
not good. And
No.
I think they're fine. I just think that it, like you said, it had a lore issue. You know what I mean? I think
Mhm.
that part should have been put on a drawing board and thought about a little bit more. And otherwise, I think you could have ideally really, really had a perfect trilogy there with them. I just think that they kind of
Mhm.
really, really didn't think out that third one and how linear they are is essentially what
Yeah.
I'm saying. They don't really think that part out. But the action scenes are great. Sometimes we tune out the story, for the
Yeah.
action scenes, and the action scenes are really, really fun. And especially in the second one, like you said, with the Smiths.
Yeah. I fucking love that movie. I mean, like, it's a great movie, but it is unnecessary in my opinion, and it's just I don't know, like, I feel like, I would I had someone ask me, like, if I would wipe out the Matrix trilogies and just leave the original, and I would say maybe, if not I mean, the only one that leaves me kind of, pending in my, making a decision is Matrix Reloaded, because I feel like it is a fun movie. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just weird and filled with problems as well. So that was the one I chose. I'm curious, and I'm curious if people comment down below and let me know if that's something that they feel too with Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions. For sure, for the
Yeah.
Matrix Revolutions, because I feel like the way it ended too was kind of really discouraging and like really boring, in my opinion. But
True.
yeah, that's my number 3, man.
Very
Let me
solid pick.
ask you this: do you remember your number 3? Because
Yeah, it's changed a few times. I remember what it is, but they all pretty much have the same theme, and that's probably why I keep forgetting them, because I'm remembering the theme, and it's bringing back dead franchises. That's what all my third ones really have in common every time I bring it back.
that's true.
And this one I actually want to bring up is just because it's the most recent one that I saw, and that's going to be Ghostbusters. And I think,
Whoa,
yeah, I
okay.
know, different, right? I just think they
Are
should
you
have
talking
let.
about Frozen Empire in particular, or are both of them, like, Afterlife and
I,
Frozen Empire?
I'm actually a fan of Afterlife, and people can flame me in the comments. I get
Mhm.
flamed for this all the time, but I love Answer the Call too, the all female Ghostbusters. I think it's the.
Oh, yeah,
I
you and I were
thought it
talking
was
about
the
it.
one.
We did the whole Ghostbusters
Yeah,
episode, yeah.
it has a charm to it that just that cast had so much chemistry, man.
Mhm.
Like I would dare challenge that you go find another movie in that same realm around that time the cast just had so much chemistry like that. I mean, I get their SNL alumni and stuff like that,
Yeah.
so they're gonna have that, but it's not that. It's just Frozen Empire really made me think of it. It's like, do I really want more Ghostbusters after this? You know what I mean? I can sit down, watch them endlessly, this and that, but like,
Mhm.
how often do I really rewatch them past the first one? Is kind of the question I pose to
That's a
myself
really good
thinking about
point.
this. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't rewatch 2 that often. I don't rewatch 2016 often. I've only seen Afterlife once, even though I adore it more than others. And I might get the Steelbook on sale for Frozen Empire
Frozen
just
Empire?
because, yeah, because I have that mega Ghostbusters set that's over there on the YouTube channel.
Mhm.
Feel free to check that out. Like my prized fucking physical. It's like my most prized physical
Yeah, you
thing.
did the whole video on it.
Yeah, and there's just something about it. Like I really started after I got out of Frozen Empire really thinking about how do I in particular consume these series, right?
Mhm.
Which ones do I go for? Like for Star Wars, my most rewatched one is Star Wars Episode 3, right? But that doesn't mean I dislike all the
Mm.
other ones. I'll
Yeah.
rewatch most of them outside of the new trilogy. I'll probably stop right at Force Awakens, right? But Ghostbusters, I literally thought about it and I've really only rewatched the first one. Like, it's just so it
That's
made me think
interesting.
that they're just really unnecessary. I like them. It's literally
Mhm.
one of my favorite franchises, but whenever I'm in the mood for Ghostbusters, the first one I'm gonna pop in is Ghostbusters, you know? So that just started to make me think like, maybe this is a really good dialogue track for down in the comments. Like, let me know, like, what are the franchises maybe now that you hear that, maybe you react the same way, or now that I open that kind
Yeah.
of
I
floodgate for
mean, I think
thoughts.
that takes a lot for someone to say, like, "This is one of my favorite franchises," but at the same
Yeah.
time, like, most of these sequels are probably useless
Yeah,
or
exactly.
unnecessary, yeah.
Yeah, and like the idea is cool there, but I mean, there's a lot of movies that you can go find out there that essentially kind of do the same thing without all the sci-fi stuff, kind of give that
Mhm.
spirit of Ghostbusters. There's always like mock-offs or knockoffs of everything out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's just something about or not Transformers, still thinking about how much that stuff pissed me off, but Ghostbusters is so good, man. Like I
Nothing's gonna
just
top that. I mean, that's
yeah,
the thing,
it's the
and
pinnacle.
yeah, and yeah, I mean, we had that theme with some of these other, like, with 2010, and I feel like even with Matrix, like, it's just like you have
Yeah,
this peak that you reach, and it's like, what else can you really do after that? Like, I
exactly.
mean, you can explore a whole bunch of different stories. Sure, I'm sure it opens
Yeah.
up a whole bunch of different brainstorming and roads that you can take, but it's like, do you want to take those roads? Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, it's like, the theme you've brought up is like, you're bringing back dead franchises that really don't need to come back sometimes. And I'm kind of
Yeah.
like, you don't need to explore these, these legends, these myths that you're verbalizing on film. Just leave it to kind of the imagination. And sometimes it's more damaging, like doing either, whether it's bringing back Ghostbusters or exploring
Yeah.
something in depth. It just damages the reputation and kind of the I don't want to say the quality of the first one, but it can take away the experience of the first one for some people.
And the legacy for sure. Because
Hmm.
it's just like pretty much like what you're saying, like, you know, people that kind of build their own mental fan fiction and stuff. Oh,
Mhm.
wouldn't that be cool if Bill Murray's character did this? What if they went and ghost busted at Alcatraz? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then they ghost bust in
That'd actually be a
Alcatraz.
cool movie.
That would be that'd actually be
You
kind of
better
cool, right?
copyright that, bro. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's like, just think about it. Then they go and ghost bust it, and it's like, man, that was terrible. They just sat down for 2 hours straight and they didn't even bust
Mhm.
a ghost, you know? It's kind of the same thing, right? Like, I really thought they were coming back solid. I think Afterlife is the second best. I know there's some people that just don't like it, but I
I
think that's
liked it a
probably,
lot. You and I had talked about it, but I really liked Afterlife.
yeah, I think it handled top 3 ways to handle legacy characters I've ever seen in my
Mhm.
life. It handled it so absolutely beautifully. And I really felt like I was in you haven't seen Frozen Empire yet, right?
No, I didn't. I
Oh,
saw
you
it the
did?
first day it came out, yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
just, oh my
I
god, it's just
yeah.
there's no ghost busting. There's, like, next to
There's
no
no
ghost
ghost
busting.
busting, and Bill Murray's gone, like, most of the movie except at the end when he's like, "Hey, you guys need some help?" And
Yeah,
and just, like,
it's
I'm like,
just
"Dude, what the hell is going on with this movie?" And the
yeah,
charm with and this is the problem too, with especially with the problem that you're talking about. You're talking about kind of these, like, legacy franchises and bringing them back, like,
yeah.
it there's so many risks that you have with that, where it's like a lot of these legacy characters, they're just, like, in the background, and these are
Yeah,
characters people really care about, you know what I mean?
they're
It's
buying
like
tickets for.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And it's like I think the perfect balance of this, and some people may argue against it. We've talked about it a million times on the channel. Is the Scream kind of thing that's happened the past two movies, like with Scream
yeah,
5 and 6. I feel like that's the perfect blend of just like introducing new characters,
yeah.
introducing a new world, but also you still have some of the old legacy characters that are still kind of interwoven with that. And I think that's probably the best. I don't want to say like legacy sequel or whatever. I don't know if there's even a term for this. I
Prequel?
think requel, I guess so. Yeah,
Yeah,
like a
that's what I
requel.
call it in 5, I think, is what they refer
Yeah.
to it as. Yeah,
That's the best way to do it. But a lot of these, sequels aren't like now we have Twisters coming out next month, and that's one I'm like super apprehensive about. Like I'm gonna go see it, but it's like,
like,
do you need
why?
it?
Why not just
Like
another
who
why not a new
wanted this
tornado
movie?
movie? Yeah, it's like, "Oh, we're gonna go from 1 tornado to 2," you know, it's just
Yeah,
like
it's like I don't understand it, but it sucks. So I felt the same way. I remember seeing your review for Frozen Empire, and I was like,
yeah,
"Yep, that's exactly how I felt." Because
yeah.
it was just a weird movie. There was no ghost
Felt
busting. It was
weightless.
just like a lot
Yeah,
of like exploration of like this ghost and the history of the ghost, and I'm like, this doesn't interest me at all, like whatsoever. You've
yeah.
lost the essence of like what Ghostbusters was.
Yeah, and what's even more irritating whenever you get these requels or these legacy sequels or an unnecessary sequel like what we're talking about is whenever you do get something solid like Afterlife. Like, I was so excited. I went and saw it premiere,
Hmm.
everything, like Frozen Empire, let's go. Didn't watch a single trailer, avoided them, everything. Let's go, let's get it. Then you sit down and it's like, damn, like, you had such a good, interesting premise
Yeah.
with a lot of like you just really had a really good head start with Afterlife. And I think we're starting to see that a little often. The only other example I can really think of is Frozen, or not Frozen, Force Awakens was a
Oh
really
yeah, I
good
was
way
thinking of
of
that
kind of
too.
bringing it back.
Yeah.
And then just depending on your opinion, I mean, some people love Frozen Empire, but it goes downhill for most people. I know some people like Last Jedi, but just it really needs to be thought out better. And I get it.
Hmm.
It was Gil Keenan's first time directing the Ghostbusters. He wrote the script for Afterlife.
Hmm.
I just don't know if that was the best idea. Now, I will say Ernie Hudson's character, I love how they did him in this. I think
Yeah,
that was absolutely brilliant, beautiful.
that's cool.
The whole ghost busting vault, everything, that was
Mhm.
something I wanted more of that I don't think we got enough of, you know?
Yeah, I think that I mean, but that's the ghost busting, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
how are we keeping these ghosts? Like, how are you storing them? Like, and even I will even say I love the opening scene of the movie, like where they're chasing that ghost around,
Yeah.
like New
In the
York, and
city.
then they go back to like the fire station, and it's like, okay, this is their day to day like ghost busting, but then that's
Yeah.
it. Like, you don't get any more ghost busting after
Nothing.
that.
You just get, what's his name? What's
Um,
Nanjiani's character?
oh, I forgot the name of his
The
character, dude.
Firewalker or whatever, like,
Yeah, like he's
why?
like the
You could
Avatar or
take
some
an
shit.
yeah. Now, I love him as an actor. I think sometimes he just picks some of
Mhm.
the weirdest roles, man, but he is an amazing actor, man. He's
He's
really good.
talented. He's just like I
Yeah,
mean, he was in Eternals too, I think.
he
He
was. I haven't
just
seen that
gets
one.
chosen in these
Yep.
or he chooses these weird roles for sure, and then they're kind of like letdowns. But it's hard, man. I mean, the problem with these like I don't know if that's even the term legacy sequels or requels, whatever we want to call it, but like the problem is you have obviously like like Warner Brothers or Disney or whatever board
Yeah.
members involved. They're like, it's money, right? It's like, this is Ghostbusters, it's going to make money. This is Star Wars, it's going to make money. They're not really caring about the narrative, and that's such a damaging thing you could do to a franchise, because if you introduce like I would say like one bad movie in a franchise, an audience is forgiving of that, but then when you do
Yeah.
two in a row, kind of like Transformers that you just talked about, I'm gonna give up on it. I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
I
like, oh,
agree.
screw this shit,
I
I
didn't
don't want
watch
to deal with it
Bumblebee because
anymore.
of that. I caught it
Yeah,
way
there you
late.
go.
Yeah.
And Bumblebee was actually solid. I saw that on, yeah, on 4K when it came out on home video, and
Yep.
I was like,
Same.
oh crap, like I should have maybe seen this in theaters, but it's because Age of Extinction
Yeah.
and Last Night were so garbage that
Yeah.
it's you really lose your credibility as a movie studio. So yeah, man. I mean, whenever these pop up, I'm just always cautious with them, and I agree with you with Ghostbusters. I think that's a perfect example of like why you don't need to make these sequels, and
Yeah.
why most of the cast, I mean, the legacy characters just in the background doing nothing.
Yeah. Agree.
Doing nothing. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, I agree. They just really should have followed up with themselves when it came to Afterlife. But yeah, that's gonna be my biggest one. And yeah, I was really thinking about it hard. I had a couple of other franchises. Like I picked Exorcist. I had tons of horror ones, Poltergeist,
The low
stuff like
hanging
that.
fruit ones,
Yeah, the
yeah.
low. I can make a 5-hour video of just me talking about unnecessary. Okay, Poltergeist 2 sucks, but Poltergeist 3 is really good. Same with
Yeah.
Exorcist. Exorcist 2 sucks, but Exorcist 3 actually go check out. Like there's
Yeah.
tons of those out there. It's just like Howling 2 is one of the worst sequels you ever see, but in the most entertaining, fabulous way that you'll ever imagine. It's an
Yeah.
atrocity how good that movie is in the worst way possible. But then it's like, yeah, I just started thinking because that Ghostbuster set is like right there. It always catches my eye. And I was thinking, I was like, yeah, that really is after Frozen Empire. Like they should just stop.
They
Because like
should.
what? Yeah,
They've
what
dug
fans
themselves
do
a
you have
hole though. It's like,
clamoring?
what I mean, like, and that's another thing with the Frozen Empire is like, I think when we talked about Afterlife, one of the most redeeming qualities for that movie for me was that little girl, whatever her name is, I forget
Yeah,
what
yeah,
her name
yeah.
is in the act.
McKenna
I
Grace, I
feel like
think is
she
her
was
name.
so charming,
Yeah.
like in
Hmm.
Afterlife, she was super charming. I'm like, I love
Yeah.
her character, and in
Yeah.
this one, you did explore some of her character, but I'm like, you just kind of lost some of that charm and some of that,
Yeah.
like the curiosity of like ghost busting just kind of went away.
Yeah,
um
exactly.
yeah, there are so many, man. I think we chose some really good ones that weren't the low hanging fruit, and we actually chose movies that we kind of actually like,
Hmm.
which is a good thing. I did have like honorable mentions here,
I was gonna
like,
ask you
I
about
mean,
those. Yeah.
I mean, these are low hanging fruit too. I mean, you didn't watch Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. That one's,
No.
yeah, dude,
That's why we decided not to talk about it. But I'm
that's
I'm
probably one of
assuming
the
that's the last one.
worst movies of that year. I shit you not.
Damn.
Like, probably, I remember I was so mad walking out of that movie. I was so pissed off.
Damn.
It was bad. Gladiator 2. I put Gladiator 2, even though that's not out yet, but I feel like
Yeah.
that's probably that's another example of like why. Like, what are you doing? And I love the
Yeah.
original Gladiator. And Saw 4 is one that we had listed too. That one's an interesting one because that one ended. I mean, Saw 3 ended the trilogy, and then it's like, did you need to continue the trilogy after that? And I
Is
didn't
four's
hate
the one
Saw
with
4.
Wahlberg's brother, right? With one of the Wahlbergs? It's got Donnie
Yeah, it has Donnie's in 2,
in
3, and
2.
4.
Yeah, but this is the one where he's on the ice, right?
Yeah, he's
Or
on
is
the
that 5?
ice.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on the
4 is
ice,
okay.
and
I
4
like
is
the
not
cup thing.
horrible,
Yeah.
but it's like, did you need it though? Because like it kind of ended badass with like Jigsaw just kind of
Just yeah.
dying, and
Mhm.
then that was it. But it's like, yeah, did you need to continue that franchise? A lot of people are gonna say no, but there
Talking
are
about
some
the Saw movies
redeemings.
would be an interesting episode. Yeah, we kind of did the Saw Legacy. I totally forgot it was one of our
We
first
did,
episodes.
and they're gonna isn't another one coming out this year? I thought that they announced that they
Got
were gonna
delayed to
do.
next year.
Did it for
Yeah,
real?
Saw 11. Yeah, they delayed it by a whole year.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, good for
Mhm.
them because I'd rather have a decent movie than. And I
I
love
saw
Saw
it.
10. And that's another example. I think that's a good example of how you can come back from a franchise is like Saw 10.
Yeah, Saw 10 was really good. Really well done.
Yeah. So maybe
Excellent.
we'll do another one with Will, because I'm curious to see if he has any.
Will's
This
probably
is
got
one
so
I feel
many.
like, yeah, this is a good like almost segment in general, because I feel like you can kind of follow up with this a few months later and talk about another 3 like unnecessary sequels that
Yeah.
really don't need to be there. But yeah. Did you have any honorable mentions before we check out?
Not really. Nothing that's really like low, like not too low hanging fruit. The only other things that I could really think of would be Damn, I was thinking of it. I mean, yeah, I can understand like Avatar because remember I kind of brought that up before, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's good. But it's just because of the delay in the process and how long it was. I'd just be thinking way more of unnecessary movies. Like, why did this get made? You know what I mean?
Maybe that could
Like,
be another segment.
why? Yeah, it's like sometimes there's so many horror movies. You know, I've been on that bender of like really bad movies. Oh, Children of the Corn. That was my third one I forgot about
Oh yeah, I remember
originally.
you're bringing those, and I said
Yeah,
that I haven't seen
every
any
single
of those
one.
sequels. I've just seen the first one.
I'll save it because I'm going through this journey where by the end of the year I want to find the worst horror franchise, and it can't just be intentionally
Mm.
bad shit. Children of the Corn thinks that they're cooking over there. They really think they're doing something over there. But you have 11 movies, and I don't like the original one. You have 11 movies of just some of the worst shit I've ever seen. Now there is one. It was one from like I think the Revelation or Field of Dreams or something like that. That was actually really good or really good and relative to the rest of the Children of the Corn. It's still like a 1.5-star movie out of 5, but it was really good compared to all of them. Literally, I kid you not, I find all of them except for the original one. The original one's a 1.5-star movie. Every sequel is a half-star movie.
Dude,
Who
I
was
don't
watching these?
understand.
Who
I
was
don't.
watching?
Let me
Make
say this.
more.
I I admire your freaking just like your devotion to watching that many bad movies back to back. Like I can't. Like if it was like two or
Yeah,
three, like I told you, 2 or 3 in a row, shit. Like I'm just not gonna watch the rest of them. I just can't. But like you're literally
yeah,
watching all of them, and it's mind
every
boggling to
single
me.
one.
But I admire your tenacity, dude. That's. I mean, I
That's
will
for
say
all
the
YouTube content.
original. I think the original is overhyped. I don't think it's
I
scary
agree.
whatsoever. I don't think there's anything like
It's generic.
it's generic. Like, yeah, people like hail it as like this great, suspenseful like horror movie. It's not.
Mhm.
It's really boring in my opinion. There's nothing
Yeah,
happening whatsoever. But maybe that's another video for another time. But that's a good one. But maybe we'll kind of revisit this with Will
yeah,
when he gets some time to kind of do another segment on this, and we'll do another segment for unnecessary movies in
yeah,
general.
yeah.
But let us know in the comments down below, guys, any unnecessary sequels that you feel were made and why you felt like they were unnecessary. We'll probably revisit this segment soon. But make sure you comment down below, like, subscribe if you've been watching our content. When we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you so much, everybody.